Mr. Speaker, I am privileged to recognize the gentleman from Iowa, the good Mr. King, for 5 minutes.
The gentleman from Iowa is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I very much thank the senior and esteemed leader, Mr. King from New York, for yielding time to me. And I want to start a point out here that I'd ask, Mr. Speaker, all members to focus on to understand where we really sit in history in this course of history. If you would go back to the most successful military known in history for the longest period of time, spanning centuries, it was the Roman legions. And the Romans had a statement called Noce Hostum, which of course was Latin for know thine enemy. Now we need to do that here in this Congress. We're part of this effort, of course. Know thine enemy. Von Clausewitz wrote the book on war. It's the treatise on war that everyone goes to because he boiled it down to understandable principles. Certainly know thine enemy. But his point was the object of war is to destroy the enemy's will and ability to conduct war. Now, if you know your enemy and you're going to destroy their will and ability to conduct war, you wouldn't just go after their ability, you would go after their will as well. And so that's been true throughout history. And if you were charged with the task of defeating the preeminent world superpower, and say about the year 1963 under President Kennedy, how do you defeat undefeated America was the question that was presented to the Vietnamese. Enter General Vo Nguyen Giap. He was the general that orchestrated the Vietnamese effort throughout the war in Vietnam. He certainly understood history. He understood the Roman legions. He understood Noce Hostum. He also understood that you had to defeat the will and the ability of the United States if you were going to defeat them. He knew that he couldn't defeat our ability. He had to attack our will. And that is what happened. And he wrote the book. This is the primer, How Do You Defeat the United States of America, by General Giap. How We Won the War is the title of it. And in the primer, he says, the beginning was when the United States failed to succeed in a complete victory in Korea, then we knew the will of the United States was weakened. On page 18, he talks about how they went after the will of the United States through public opinion, how they supported and encouraged the anti-war activists because they knew they couldn't win militarily. So their front on the war that had the greatest chance for success was with the will of the American people. Here's the primer. Our enemies read this primer, Mr. Speaker. They understand this. And one of our enemies over there is Muqtada al-Sadr, who laid it out for us when he said June 11th in 2004, and I saw this on Al Jazeera TV when I was in Kuwait, when he said, if we continue attacking Americans, they will leave Iraq the same way that they left Vietnam, the same way that they left Lebanon, the same way that they left Mogadishu, Mr. Speaker. That's the message that his people heard. That's the message that we should hear. I've heard it. I put it on this floor many times. A couple of nights ago, I put Muqtada al-Sadr down here on the floor. Then the night, he went off to Iran to join up with the people over there who've been supporting him. He understands this. I will tell you this. If this resolution passes, and if Mr. Murtha and the people that are working with him are successful in a slow bleed of our resources, then what you will see, Mr. Speaker, is you will see Osama bin Laden say, if we keep attacking America, they will leave Afghanistan the same way they left Vietnam, Lebanon, Mogadishu, and Iraq. That's what's coming. That's what's being perpetrated by the rhetoric here on this floor. That's what's being staged in appropriations bills that we will certainly see coming after this resolution. The destiny of America is put at risk, Mr. Speaker, and this says to all of our enemies, it's easy to take on the United States if you can just get Congress to lose their will, if you can get them to lose their spine. So I would then simply close with a reiteration of a request made from a major from Kentucky whom I met with in my last trip over there to Iraq. He loves his kids and his cows, and he loves God, and I know he speaks the truth. He said, we have everything we need, so when you pray for us, pray for the American people. Pray they understand the threat, and pray they do not lose their resolve. We will not lose ours. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.